Hi, and thank you for joining us at RG Small Engine Repair. Today, like a previous video we've just posted, we're going to talk about the problems with the self-propel not working and stuff like that. This customer has indicated that the blades turn, the lights turn on, but when they go to engage the self-propel, nothing happens. So right here, we're going to indicate by pulling on the bell. That's going to activate, turn on the, oh, sorry. First, we got to put the battery in. Put it in the cover here, like that. Make sure it makes a good connection. Pull back on this bell, the lights will turn on. That's how we're going to know we're getting power. We will try out the blades. So the blades seem to be working. Now we will go ahead and try the self-propel levers, and we're not getting anything. Okay, so we're going to be replacing the transmission. Down here is a picture of the transmission. They used to come in a bracket set up to where you were able just to kind of pull it out, unplug the wire, plug the wire back in, and connect it back up. But recently they've taken the bracket out and just sent us the transmission and the shaft, which makes sense because the bracket's not broken, it's just a transmission. The only thing, it just makes it a little longer on the repair. So we're going to dive into that right now. Okay, so now to get started, we have to roll the mower back on its lid. To protect the lid, we've put down a soft, or in this case my hoodie, something soft to help kind of keep it from getting scratched up or crunched or anything like that. Now, with it being upside down, you can see the transmission right here. What we're going to have to do is we're going to pull these 4 torque screws, and they're T27s. We'll pull the wheel hubcaps, and then there's 15 millimeter nuts that you have to pull off to get the wheels to come off. And well, there's a wired one plug here, and on your height adjustment, you'll see it later on. There's a little cotter pin that holds that bar on. So let's get at it. Yes. All right, to start off, we're going to try to release as much tension on the height adjustment as we can. And by doing this, we have to go back and go past the last adjustment height. What that'll do is release the tension for this cotter pin right here, and we'll simply take a pair of pliers and twist it back straight, and then that pin should just slip right out. And then we can just pull this bar off without having any kind of risk of injury of it snapping or trying to do something that we're not going to predict. Then here we will take this wire and unplug it. You can also wait until you get the transmission out, but it's always a little nicer just to get it unbolted and then pull it right out. So now that we've got that, we've got these 4 screws still to get out, and we'll have to use clip rings, which we'll show you later on how to get this gear and bearings off. And just like that, with those 4 bolts, just slips right out. And now this is the bracket that we will be swapping over to this transmission. And as you can see, the transmissions look a little different, but they've updated it to a different motor and setup. Okay, so we're going to start by taking this clip ring off of this gear so we can transfer it over to the other one. You don't need to squeeze hard, just enough for it to pop out of that groove so you can get it off. There's going to be a little pin for your self-propel. It fits through the shaft so that the gear can catch on it when the self-propel is engaged. Underneath that is another snap ring that will just get in there just like I said, just enough to get out of that groove to risk breaking it or stretching it too far, and we'll just slip it right out. And then we'll just repeat that on the other side. If it wants to cooperate. Now it can get a little tricky right here, but if we just use our T20 Torx, we can squeeze in here and pull this bracket off for transfer. Now, after that bracket is off, it should allow it freely to loosen this piece up, and this piece should slide out. Granted, sometimes with the grass and rust being a problem, they can get stuck, so you might have to give them a little bit of help or assist them getting out of their spots. Okay, so we did have to finagle it a little bit to get it to come out. We used a center punch so we didn't damage the outside of the shaft, and just kind of gently tapped until this piece come off. Now this piece, also the transmission has a bracket that holds onto it to keep it from sliding from left to right. It has a spacer with a bearing inside so that the shaft could sit there and spin around it freely and not bind up. There's one on each side. We got this one off. Now we're going to take the other one off and show you what the bracket looks like with nothing on it. Okay, so when we put this bracket back on, we're going to do it outside the big bracket. And it's got the 4 screws. You'll want to probably pre-tap them with the screws before you try putting this bracket on. Otherwise, you're just sitting there trying to make sure it stays straight as it's trying to make its own threads through the plastic. So we went ahead, did that, backed it off just a little so that this bracket has a little bit of play, so that the stopper on the end can squeeze up in there and fit right, and then we'll be able to tighten it down once we get it in there. Okay, and it should push in just like that. And we'll just finish tightening these up. Okay, now we can start to put our clips back in. Just gently assist it. there's that one. Jump over to this side. All right, so now we've got these end holders in, the snap rings to hold them in. We're gonna set this whole bracketry right back down. You'll wanna make sure right here on this spring of the handle lever, there's a little groove for it to pop up in, and then it'll get bent back. You can also, like before, pull this whole transmission out and put the wires in together. This works just as fine. You'll want to make sure that they're tucked up in there, that way they don't fall out and cause the transmission to cut out itself as well. So now you've got this bracket to tie to the mower deck, and then you've got this one. You're going to want to make sure that this bended down piece of the tab goes on the outside of the axle when you go to set it down, as such. And what this does is it fits into that groove of your stoppers to stabilize it more and keep the whole bracketry from going left to right. So now we'll get back and put our T30 or T27 back on. We'll get our big screws here, and we will now that that's done, you'll want to take this pin on this shaft and make sure the hole itself is on the side. That way it doesn't fall out when you try to put the sprocket on it. You'll take your grass cover and you will set that in here. And then you'll get your sprocket. You'll see that there's two notched out pieces for that little bar to go through. And you'll just kind of wiggle it around until it slips right in. And now we will sit there and put this snap ring back in its spot to hold the gear on. So we'll just sit there. And there's that. And then the wheel can go on. And then we can tighten our nut down. And then when we go to put the cap back on, there's a small tab and a big tab. And it'll show you here, if you go around, you'll see the small tab and the big tab. And it just snaps right in there. Now on the other side, you're going to have to make sure you get your height adjustment bar back on the bracketry, and then you've got your cotter pin. You'll slip back down in there and use your pliers to bend it so it doesn't fall out. After that's done, you will proceed with the same procedure from the other side. You'll put the pin in the shaft once you turn it sideways so the pin stays. You get it about halfway. Gear, notch, put it on there and just kind of wiggle it around and it'll go right on. And then, okay, so now we got everything put back together. We got the wheels back on it. We're gonna flip it back over and we're going to put a battery in it and we're going to see how it goes. Push this tab down, it releases the handle, you can pull it back. We'll have to set our height adjustment back where we would like it. Put the battery in. Okay. What? We got lights. Pull our levers to see if the self-propel is working. And there you go. And as always, thanks for joining us here at RG Small Engine Repair. Subscribe.